right, and we are live with another BSC News live stream. And Cami, always great to see you. And a guest today is Mr. 10 with 10 Finance. And welcome to the show.
Hey, Ben. Hey, Cam. Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure to spend Friday night with you guys. So how are you?
Doing good. And you're with me a Friday afternoon.
So. You're with me a Friday evening.
It's an evening, morning, something somewhere, right? So
yep,
that's the nature of the beast of a borderless world we live in.
Yes, sir. And so obviously this will be focused on 10 Finance, and we also want to get to know you, Mr. 10. And why don't we start there? Why don't we start with your background?
Sure. I think we had an AMA with you guys a few months ago, or maybe a month ago, or feels forever now. But little background on myself. I traded commodities for about 17 years, from late 2000, early 2001 up until 15, 16. Traded for a family office, institutional clients mainly. Went off and did my own thing for about 6 years, from 2010 up until the end of 15 and early 16. And after that, I just went into the rabbit hole of cryptocurrencies, initially from a pure speculative perspective. I'll be honest with you, and I'm probably not the first guy that in a similar position that dismissed cryptocurrencies when we first found out about it, because I was just so in the Wall Street mentality of this is, black market money, Mickey Mouse money, or whatever it is back then. And my brother coincidentally introduced me to Bitcoin back in 2011. I had no idea how to buy it, nor did I care for it. But, fast forward a few years, got into the technology, started building on some other projects and working our way up. And I guess, been through the ups and downs of the crypto markets, including traditional finance, through several, big crashes, small crashes, fat finger crashes, or whatever it is. But here we are. Now we're in the wild, wild west of DeFi on BSC for the time being. And, here we are. That's pretty much my, background in a nutshell.
Okay, and I think Cammy's gonna now follow up with some 10Fi related questions.
Yes, so I just want to go back to what you were saying. I know that you mentioned in regards to being in the crypto space and having other projects or launching other projects. I know you probably don't want to mention them projects because of doxing yourself or anything, but can you give us a brief overview of what those projects kind of were without naming them, and were they successful? Are they still about now?
Sure. So, as we did with 10 Finance, is we initially self-funded the entire project ourselves, which similarly we did to another project that we spent the last 3.5 years doing, which is pretty much a ground-up payment protocol we're developing, that involves mobile mining, which is true mobile mining, utilizing mobile GPU and the CPU of your cell phone to be a miner. So that project is still somewhere out there, although we're spending 99% of our time and energy on 10Fi, as I firmly believe that decentralized finance, and in particular yield farming as it is, will evolve into, I guess, the future of banking and in particular savings. Traditional banks nowadays are just, I guess, in a way, taking advantage of the situation of low interest rates and not really passing on to the consumer. But the other projects that we're working on, that we are still working towards, we have several of our team members that worked on other projects which I think, one of them has been named Bancor. One of our senior guys did work on the original project, so that's one that I think everybody knows. But yeah, So I don't know if that really answered your question or not, but
Yeah, it did actually. Thanks for that. So
sure.
I just want to touch on as well in regards to your successful launch, and then what does a roadmap look like? What is coming next, or what are you looking? What is the end game for you guys with
Well,
10 Finance?
sure. I think you're being kind there with your words. I'm pretty sure there's some, including myself and our team, that while we, looking on the brighter side, it was a successful launch to a certain extent, but we did have our problems. We had to reissue, or I guess redeploy our initial 10-fi contract because we were missing the minting functionality for the farm. Then after that, BSC issues, then some logistical issues on us. But we're starting out as a yield optimizer, and what we see the issue with a lot of projects, not necessarily in BSC, but just overall crypto space, is the lack of utility. The lack of utility is it's an ever presence in this space, and I think that's like the holy grail when people are talking about cryptocurrencies and what's the purpose of it. Are we a fad? Are we a meme coin? Are we going to the moon, to Mars? Is that where it is? So for us, starting off as a yield optimizer is key, because it allows us the flexibility of not only servicing as a farm, but going to other farms, picking solid liquid pools to, I guess, optimize yields by offering additional rewards. But at the end of the day, I think our roadmap is key in achieving what we want to do. As you said, our end game. Our end game is to create true utility for the 10-fi token and the entire ecosystem as a whole, because most farms, optimizers, tokens, well, let's stick to yield farms in particular, is because that's what we're in, is there is no purpose for the token, with the exception of, Pancake Swap, which I think is being the trendsetter slash vanguard in this space for now. Is everyone's running on the Pancake model. Pancake does lottery, everybody else does lottery. Pancake does NFTs, everybody else does NFTs. Pancake does IFOs, everybody else starts doing IFOs. So we don't want to be another one of, hey, let's do what the guy next door is. We have taken from somebody else's foundation, we're building on that, but what comes tomorrow is completely different. And I think our roadmap has a few of these in place, including our YieldX suite of products, which we're working on as we speak. There's something else that I think Cam knows about, we're working on, which is an interesting concept that nobody's done as well. And governance model is there, but that's just the basics. But overall, I think the end game for us is to create a true utility for the whole entire 10-fi ecosystem, other than just being a reward that is farmed and staked and sold when there's nothing else to do. I mean, that's just a simple reality of it.
Okay, perfect. Can you just, I know you mentioned the YieldX. Can you touch on that a little bit?
I can, although I don't really want to go into too much detail. But essentially, let's just say that the 10-fi token is going to be the key to the entry of into the YieldX platform, which the YieldX is going to be a combination of a rebalancing portfolio and a portfolio composition of, let's say, I think, in our original roadmap slash white paper, we had labeled blue chip, super YieldX, and I think stable coins YieldX, which there's a certain amount, similar to an ETF or a mutual fund, where there's percentages given out to allocated to several different assets. It's going to be a mix of combination of several different things, where our token is going to be a key, I guess, a component of access and utility for the YieldX itself, without going into too much detail pre-release. I think that's all I want to say for now.
And I won't ask you to go further into those details, but just for, I'd say, like, clarity, the YieldX products are they yield oriented funds essentially?
Technically, yes.
Okay. So like a yield farming fund that's managed for the investor.
Technically correct.
Okay.
In a
Yeah, I
way.
like how you say technically.
In many different ways, in the same way, all at the same time. But yeah.
Okay. And I guess we'll have to bring you back to explain more when the time comes. Because to me, that's a pretty interesting sounding product, and I wish you could say more, but I understand.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. If I may say something today and then we may decide to change something tomorrow, then we're going to have an entire community saying, well, you said this, and I'm pretty sure everybody knows how that goes. And that's why I want to be very careful in the words that I choose and say, so that nothing comes back to us. Hey, well, you said you're going to do this, but you did something else, and But yeah. I will come back and explain if it's not. We're going to try to make it very simple and easy to understand. If I can explain to my kids, then I think it'll be a job well done.
And I guess the only other question I have about this is, do you have a timeline, rough timeline? Obviously not like a hard date, but a couple weeks, couple months.
I think Cam knows about our timeline, and over the last 2 months, given our launch, if I say sometime this year, I know for sure we'll meet it. But ideally, within the next month or so, I'm going to say 8 weeks. So if I come in before that, I'll be happy, because I know if I say 2 weeks, people are going to be knocking on my door a week from now.
Yeah, that's a good way to be.
I don't want to constantly say, okay, sorry guys, we're going to delay it again. And we've had plenty of delays during our storied launch. I think if anybody's delayed so many times, we have. But I guess everything happens for a reason. So
yeah, and you guys handled that well, and you communicated well. So I thought that was really professional, just to add on to the amount of humility that you are offering with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, that kind of comes from, treating others how I'd want to be treated if I was in their position, and how I'd want things to be communicated to myself. A lot of times I've noticed lack of communication can kill a business or an entire community because of that. And going forward, and that's something that we've done, I think, pretty well with regards to communication, whether it shows us in a good light or a negative light. At the end of the day, it's the truth. And I've realized my entire life that the truth and communication is key to longevity. It can take years to build relationships and reputations, and it can take an instant or one wrong move to ruin it. And for us, we wanted to take the right steps in building this relationship with our community by letting them know, hey, we are as transparent as we can. I mean, we told them exactly how it happened, what happened with regards to our initial launch, and everything since then. But yeah, it's been an interesting experience, and it's just something that I think comes from our team wanting to be as communicative as possible with our community, whether it's good news or bad news.
Cool, that's good. Cami, you could probably continue on. That's all my questions. I'll step down for now.
Okay, that's fine. So with the launch, you had a quick change in UI on the website. I'm not mocking it. I think it's a beautiful update to the site. I really, really like it. So my question is, how come you had the UI and then you changed it really quick? What was the reasoning behind that? What did you realize that was missing at the time, or if there was anything missing, or was it something that was in the roadmap anyway?
Not really. I mean, to be honest with you, from the get-go, we had this notion of simplicity, 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 right? And we build out the UI, and internally we're like, oh yeah, it looks great. And it's not until you put it into, I guess, a real time in real world usage that you start getting feedback, and then you actually see it. It's weird. You're looking at the computer screen. It's the same screen, but it's in a test bed, and it's only in a dev environment. But when you actually launch it, you're kind of looking at it in a way where you're like, it's not really all that it should be. So we decided to quickly change it because we felt that it wasn't presentable, and it was lacking a lot of features, which I think we added over the last, when we launched the new UI. It wasn't initially in the roadmap to begin with. However, I feel like the new UI is a lot more presentable, and with how we wanted to portray our platform, it performs a lot better. Some of the functionality issues we had, we were able to correct. Now you can actually buy TenFi directly from the website, just by clicking the buy button without going to PancakeSwap. We actually implemented that today. So it's interesting. We're going to try to make changes, but the UI initially, it was okay, but it wasn't really what it should have been.
Okay, perfect. So that being said, with you guys being the yield optimizer, sorry, just I know that we've touched on this already, but I'm just wanting a bit more clarity on what is it that you're trying to do a bit different to others, just to attract market share. I know we've spoken about the YieldX. What other things are you looking to do to be different from a yield optimizer?
Here's the thing. There isn't too much you can do to be different from others. The biggest difference from us is our commitment to sustainability and longevity in terms of the ecosystem. Compared to others in the space, we are probably anywhere between 5 to 20 times slower in per block emissions for rewards. So somebody may go to xyz.com as a yield optimizer. They're like, oh, these guys give out 500% APY. TenFi gives out 100% APY. Well, why? Well, we run out of tokens to give out as rewards in about 4.5 years, whereas within the next anywhere between 3 to 6 months or so, a lot of other optimizers will be running out of these rewards, and they will have to buy back additional tokens to give out as rewards, and that becomes their model. So for us, it's about creating a sustainable period and not really having 1,000 different pools to give out our rewards, because it's one thing to be a yield optimizer and provide additional TenFi as a reward, but I think I mentioned this earlier, it's more important that we create a true utility for the entire TenFi ecosystem, so that there's more use for our token other than just farming and selling. So I think our roadmap plays a lot into that, also into the lending features that we want to do, and also the insurance, which is TenSure. I think I overdid it with everything 10 something. You can ask my partners; they'll tell me stop. But I'm a sucker for these things. But in terms of being too different, look, at the end of the day, everybody does the same thing. It's the same thing as a BMW dealership and an Audi dealership. They're both cars. Why are you going to go to one or the other? One may be service, two may be the way you drive and the way the platform is, or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, both of them will get you from point A to point B. And I think for us, the level of service and professionalism we show to our community, I think we've built a pretty solid base of community. Although we had this big campaign with, I think CoinMarketCap, where we had an influx of people into our Telegram group and Twitter, which was a bit different from our community of close-knit, everybody kind of having a know of each other, even though we were 6,000 people. It was an interesting time, and it still is right now because it's still going on. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be the people that are running it, how we treat our user base, how we take in information and criticism in particular. And I like to learn from everybody in the community, and I think that's the best way to evolve and adapt to the situation with regards to what the community and the users want. And I have a list of I have a document that's called Suggestions by the Community, and I literally write down everything that they say, and I look through it once a week at least, or I try to, and try to see how we can implement it or improve it, and just go from there.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll throw in here. If anybody watching has any questions, you could throw them in. I guess we're on what? We're on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch at the moment.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
So, Ten, just another question I have for you as well. In regards to, I know we've spoken about this anyway, but with the recent flash loans that have been happening on the Binance Smart Chain, and a lot of code can be, it's forked. So my question is, with I know you've been audited by Certic, but even after the audits that you've had, is there anything that you're about to go over or check? And have you checked if there is anything that can be exploited on your contracts because of flash loans and stuff like that?
I'll tell you right now, obviously with technology, if there is a way to build something, there's always going to be a possibility of a backdoor entrance. And I think everybody that has built something or something on technology knows. However, we have taken the necessary steps to make sure whatever is available or we have knowledge of, to take precaution for that. One being, our deposit fees. Our deposit fees are not there for us as a team to take and, as a fee for us. Those go back into the LP pools, they accumulate, and over time it's there to fight off front running. Front running is a way of is a form of a flash loan where our fees will go in there and accumulate for that particular reason, so that when somebody comes in and they're looking to borrow a bunch of money, and we've also inserted the slippage fees in there, or maximum levels, that when somebody goes into the flash loan or tries to get a flash loan, they obviously use maximum gas and maximum slippage fees, or slippage percentages, I should say, and therefore try to mint as many tokens as they can. However, there is a minting limit per block that we have. I think it's like 4.44 10.5 per block. So we've done, I think, what we can or know what to do to offset these. A lot of the recent exploits that happened, we're not really susceptible to. I don't want to jinx ourselves or anything. So we've done enough, but again, whether it's an audit by Certic or anybody else, that doesn't really mean anything at the end of the day. If somebody really wants to exploit or perform any malicious acts on a smart contract, if there's a way, they will find a way. However, a lot of the ways that we know how to protect ourselves, we've done that to the point where we're comfortable enough in our code the way it is, with regards to saying I can go to bed and put my head on the pillow and not have to worry too much about an attack.
Okay, perfect. And then that leads me on to say, with Certic, you've got the shield. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. We do have the Certic Shield and also Skynet, which I guess alerts people if there's something funky going on with um, our code or any transactions.
How does that work?
To be honest with you, we got the Skynet initially because you get a score. I think I told Marco and the guys there it was nice to have a score. But what they do is basically it just monitors the entire blockchain and checks all the addresses that interact with it and any irregular activities that are notified or noticed. They put out an alert to on their website. 2, we would get notified, and 3, I think they even put out tweets or whatever about it, warning the public of that. So it's a good tool to analyze the overall I guess activities of the chain itself. So I think both having the Certic Shield as well as the Skynet has been it's definitely been a positive for us in terms of being able to monitor and see what it is and provide some sort of a security blanket for our users.
So with the shield, what does it actually cover? Would it cover a flash loan or any kind of exploit within, or does it only cover if a project, I'm not saying you would, but if a project was to do, the owners do a malicious act?
You didn't just say that. To be honest with you, I am going to be completely honest. It is probably, I need to read the fine print. From what I understood initially is, the Certic Shield covers any loss that the token holders would get. It's like getting a car insurance, right? You get car insurance or life insurance. They're like, oh, well, you got hit by a rock and this wasn't really covered, but, it may be one of those situations which I do need clarity given everything that's happened over the last, several months, weeks, especially on BSC, just so we can get better clarification with regards to that. I think now that you've mentioned that, I should get in touch with the guys and clarify that for myself.
Cool. Perfect. Thank you.
But technically, hypothetically, it should cover what you mentioned.
Yes. Right.
Cool. And we do have one question from Twitch. Mr. 10, when will 10.5 moon? That's the question. Soon.
You know what? I'll tell you this. From my past experience in trading, is past performance does not indicate future results. Ideally, I mean, if it was up to me, yeah, it's our project. I wanted to go to XYZ price, but we're not here to manipulate. We're not here to estimate or guesstimate. Our job is to put out a good, solid product. At the end of the day, that will dictate where the token price goes. The market supply and demand will, eventually level out. And I think when we bring out our YieldX and provide for further utility for our token, then perhaps that's when things will happen. Or it might just be, I don't know. It's a question where, I cannot give you this answer.
Yeah. I did want to ask you, especially given your background in markets and trading, what's your thoughts on just the overall crypto market right now? I think the latest from, let's say, forget who the outfit was, like Forbes or something, is we're entering a bear market. That's what the analysis says. A 2018 bear market. Wanted to get your stance on that.
I mean, I'll tell you this right now. Traditional publications or traditional finance outlets like a Forbes, and I don't know who at Forbes did it, but I can pay for an article on Forbes and say, hey, it's a Forbes article or whatever it is. Same thing with Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, and all those guys. So, to me, the bear market of a crypto and bear market is a lot different than traditional bear markets. 20% down in equities is a bear market, whereas in crypto, that's just another day. Up 20, down 40, up 60 the next day. When I traded, and to this day, even when I look at markets and the price of where we're going. I don't really see. We're in limbo right now. I think we're still in an uptrend, especially and Bitcoin leads the market in a lot of different ways. And unless something happens and everything decouples from Bitcoin itself, but to me, we broke this trend line that was going on since October of last year. It was the last week or a few days ago when it dropped down to 30,000. But we're back above it now. It's still shaky. I know there's a lot of things coming out of China. China miners selling out and some regulations and what was it, Baidu, blocking all these exchanges or whatnot, and then you have this thing with Elon Musk doing whatever he's doing, and whatever, and then now you got El Salvador accepting Bitcoin as legal tender. So it's an interesting time, and I think I had this discussion with Cam as well. Is it just feels a lot different this time around. It doesn't feel like it's about to end. Where one of our partners, we had a talk. It was January 2018. I remember we were in a car driving back, January 4th. Actually, I remember coming back from a meeting. I told him the market is tops. Sell everything you got, and that's when Dogecoin was at like a $3 billion or $2.5 billion market cap. I mean, Dogecoin right now, what is it? It reached like almost 100 billion. So it's completely different. It's a different atmosphere, but I don't think we're in a bear market. I think we're just going to go sideways, limbo, just figure things out. And we may be at an inflection point where Bitcoin goes a different direction than everything else, like a BSC or an Ethereum or a Polygon or whatever it is. I think the future is, the Bitcoin narrative's changed a lot, right? From being currency or a medium of exchange to becoming a store of value, to becoming a reserve asset. The narrative changes because of a lot of the limitations that it had as a currency, what it came out to be. But whatever, that's not the point. Long story short, I don't think it's in the bear market. I think I made that way too long for you guys.
To answer the question.
So,
No.
And another thing that you said was you're a top caller then, yeah?
That was
call the
just
top.
luck. That was just luck. That was just luck. I told my partner, I was like, yeah, I remember back in 2018, because he didn't listen to me, he didn't sell. So I'm sure he's listening right now, and he's like, yeah, that's me. But
yeah, I share the same sentiment, and with everything going on, it just doesn't make any sense. So that's the fundamentals wouldn't make any sense for that. So
yeah, it's different, right? From 2017, 18, it was just ICOs. It was like, hey, I have a white paper, give me money, and everyone's like, yeah, we're going to the moon or whatever, or when moon, when Lambo. This time around, it's a little different. You don't have those ICOs. There's a lot of developers that are starting these projects that aren't raising, 10, 20, 30, 50 million in a matter of seconds. It's a different way of money coming into these markets. It's kind of like, hey, it's more forks nowadays than anything else. So I don't know, but it does feel a lot different, and I'm sure you guys can sense it too.
yeah, and I also think like, I can put let's say just a Bitcoin BUSD liquidity pair together, and I could just never sell it ever.
Yeah.
So there's that element of it too, and I think as DeFi grows and like the adoption of it, because I think Greg and I did a calculation the other day, and it was like 5% of the market cap of crypto is in DeFi. So it's like incredibly small.
Yeah, you're right. It's a little over or under 5%, depending on
the day. What happens when that becomes 10 to 20% and no one's selling and they're just earning interest, right? That it changes it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the model that DeFi introduced, and in particular yield farms and LPs, is not a new model. Okay, I mean, traditional banks. I mean, look at FX rates. Okay, foreign exchange or bonds or whatever it is. It's a more liquid market, but they make billions and billions of dollars off these trading fees. And crypto is no different. It's just newer technology, and And DEXs, decentralized exchanges are going to put these centralized exchanges out of business, especially, the pancake model where anybody can list their tokens. I mean, it kind of went from, hey, I'm listed at XYZ exchange to, okay, fine, I'm going to list on Uniswap, PancakeSwap. That's the model now. It's just a lot easier or less of a barrier to entry for projects, I guess. Which is another differentiator from 2017, 18 as well. Because before it was like, hey, give me money and I'll give you a product in a year from now. I mean, look at EOS. 4 years later, I still don't know what they do.
Yeah, like now it's we'll give you a product and then we'll give you money,
right?
And we don't have to give them anything, kind of, in
Absolutely,
a sense,
right? So it's a completely different way or environment when it comes to that. So that's why it just feels so much different this time around. So I don't know, unless we're wrong completely, but
I agree with you. I mean, I can't take my money and go to Robinhood and get paid a share of their trading fees. Right? Or
no,
of their profits.
There's no way. You kidding me? Or Goldman Sachs or Deutsche Bank or any of those guys? You think they'll share any of that fees? No.
Right?
They charge like two what is it, like $2 aside per like per million or whatever it is, and then you got another middleman, unless you got another brokerage fee, and then you got something else, and you're paying a bunch of fees, and you're not getting a cut of that unless. I mean, technically you can in the industry because there's introducing brokers and you get a fee for that, but that's a different story. But it's tiny, minuscule amounts that add up.
Mm-hmm.
But crypto in particular, I think, it's definitely. I mean, I don't want to put a timeline, but I feel like we still have some room to run before some sort of a correction. Now, honestly, this feels like a correction to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of like, yeah, fine, we're down. I mean, Bitcoin's down, what, 50% from the top, or 55 or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
So, be prepared for maybe even going down to 15, 20. It's just the way it is. And for everybody that's in crypto, we can't expect to go to the moon without, getting back down to earth. It's like a round trip. It's not a one-way ticket.
Yeah.
It's a round trip, couple times, couple pit stops here and there, and then you get to your destination. And people always ask me in the room, is like, when's 10-5 in the moon? I'm like, I always joke around and say we're going to Mars or we're going to the Andromeda galaxy, because I mean, I just don't know. I mean, 10, 20, 30 years later down the road, I mean, I think we're all fairly young, and our kids are going to know banking in a way different way than we grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact. So,
man, you're getting me all excited. I love this type of conversation. It's just it's amazing stuff. It really is.
And we're all at the ground floor. We're gonna tell our great grandkids one day, and we're like, I was in the beginning of this DeFi thing.
I own 10-Fi. They're like, you bought 10-Fi? I'm like, but I sold it. They're like, no.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. You never know. But we'll be a hologram by then or something. I don't know. I'm waiting for Aubrey de Grey and those guys to come out with something to prolong my life and live up to like 150 years. But I think I'm being too optimistic.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Cammy, unless you have anything else, I think I'm good.
I do have a few more questions just to relate back to 10-Fi. Before I do that, I actually wanted to make a comment. My only thing I would say in DeFi is that I think you just have security issues. Any for mass adoption, I think security is one thing that is stopping it from mass adoption, and I think that needs to be cleared up. And then we will see a massive amount of money coming in, especially like you're saying, there's only 5% of the crypto market that isn't DeFi. So once that, I think it's scary for investors that work or actually trade on a centralized exchange to come out and use DeFi because of security issues and all of the scary contract.
No, that's true, and I think to a certain extent, education as well. I think lack of education is there in DeFi, and not too many. Which is something that we're heavily investing in right now. We're going to be putting things out as educational content and how-tos with regards to the DeFi space. And, obviously security falls with that too, because if somebody is not confident, that's a security risk as well, because they don't know what they're doing and how they're going to be doing things. So it becomes a problem.
That's one issue, and it's like I think the first ever live stream that we did, we actually spoke about that, and I think the issue is it's so hard to explain DeFi to a non-crypto person, one, or even a crypto person that isn't in DeFi.
Yeah.
And then the other issue
that's
is
me. I was in crypto and I still had a hard time understanding DeFi, yield farming,
Same,
yield optimizing. I was like, what? Yeah, it
but
was
you can,
a foreign concept.
I can guarantee that we can ask every person that is in DeFi, and the way that DeFi worked for them was by losing money. And that's the issue, because people don't want to lose money at the start. That's not how it works. That's not how you keep people. And I think that's one of the biggest issues that we have, is making people not lose money at the start for them to learn. If we can turn that around, then I think DeFi will see a big success, even though it is a success to us, but for mass adoption.
Agreed, 100%. I definitely agree with you. And mass adoption is going to be, kind of coming down to the UI, UX aspect of things as well. Education being key, and the security thing of people feeling secure is like, hey, I'm not going to go into this project and wake up and everything is gone, because of lack of knowledge of the codes that are being put together, which is another problem in DeFi. There's a lot of copy paste, patch together, last minute, one day jobs, and then something happens. You're like, oh, I just lost all my money. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it happens all the time.
It's happened to me at the start. But yeah, so, and it's like, how do you explain to someone you can put your money here and you will earn something else for free? And then they probably want to understand, like, well, where does that come from? And it's like, sorry, can't tell you where it comes from. It just comes out. It just comes out of a block. And I think that's the issue of trying to explain.
So who's creating the blocks? How are these blocks created?
Yeah, exactly.
It takes you down a rabbit hole, and yeah, it's definitely interesting. Understanding it is it's kind of like rocket science to a certain extent. But yeah, I don't know.
No, I think it's kind of like the way you explain it is, so there's this country called El Salvador, and they take steam from volcanoes and they turn it into electricity, and that electricity creates blocks, and then you get rewards on your liquidity. That's it right there.
Well, that was simple enough.
Right? It makes it just from volcanoes. It goes back to volcanoes.
Man, volcanoes. My son loves volcanoes. I should tell. Oh, yeah, okay.
It's powering Bitcoin. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love the way they talk about Bitcoin and things like that sometimes. And he's 5, so if I tell him volcanoes make Bitcoin blocks, they mine Bitcoin blocks, they'll be like, "Whoa, volcanoes make Bitcoins." So
yeah, I was like that, so that's fine.
I think everybody was like, "Whoa, they didn't see that one coming."
Right. All right.
So I can't even speak. I got 2 last questions in relation back to TenFi, and then I know I've taken a lot of time up. So one question is, when will you be, or when can we expect to see new vaults? I know you rolled out a few and we haven't seen any new ones at the moment. When are you looking to launch new ones?
It kind of goes back to what Ben was asking me earlier about a timeline on the YieldX, and if I tell you when. No, I'm just kidding. I think it's probably public knowledge in our groups or whatnot what we're going to come out with. We've got a few, maybe 6 coming out on next week. I think next week is broad enough where I don't put myself against the wall. But let's say early to mid next week, we will have some new vaults, including the long-awaited and wanted Cake single token staking, auto compounded, that everybody wants.
Cool.
Perfect. Okay. And then the last question is, it's understandable that you have PancakeSwap as the only AMM for liquidity pools to go into the vaults. Are you looking, or will you in the future be bringing over other AMMs as well, so they can bring their pools So like Ape Swap or Jet Swap or Walt Swap. Are you looking to integrate them into your yield optimizer as well?
We are 100%. We're not married to any one particular AMM. I think the goal was to launch with PancakeSwap and move on to other AMMs with regards to the pools. However, the pools that we bring on are going to be liquid pools. They're not going to be something that could be illiquid or is just inactive or whatnot. That's not going to produce any yield, or it's not going to be beneficial to our users. So we are picky when it comes to that. With regards to the selection of some of these pools. But we will be, I guess, now that the basics are finally long overdue and done with our UI and some of these new pools or whatnot we'll be bringing forth, we can concentrate on bringing in other liquidity pools from other AMMs.
Cool.
Perfect. Right, I'm done there now.
Awesome. I guess, is there anything else you want to say about 10 Finance while you're here?
Well, first I want to thank you guys. I know I've known Cam for a few months now, and he's been a tremendous help to me, kind of being a mentor and a guide into the BSC wilderness. Coming over from the Ethereum side. But I just want to say thank you to everybody that's come along for the ride, that supported us and kind of been there for us. We're excited to finally, put the what's that saying? Metal to the pedal, or pedal to the metal?
To the metal.
Yeah, one of those things. Pedal to the metal and go full speed ahead and start bringing in innovation into the space, and hopefully, be here for the next several years and decades to come. It's a long road, and we hope to be a part of this journey with everybody in the DeFi space. And and thank you guys for having me. I appreciate you spending your Friday evening and Friday afternoon with myself.
Awesome. We appreciate you coming.
No, thank you guys.
All right, take care, man. See you in a bit.
Take care.
Cheers.